So I'm here to answer your admissions questions, but who better to talk to you about civil engineering than some of our students and our profs. So we'll get started with our students on the panel today. If I can ask everyone here to share your name, your program, or for professors, your area of specialization within civil engineering. And if you can tell us about one course that you're taking right now that's really exciting. And for our profs, a course that you're teaching right now that you're really excited about. So let's start with Janelle.
Hello, my name is Janelle. I am in my 4th year of study in civil engineering. Currently this semester, I'm not really taking any specific courses with respect to engineering. Most of them are just electives, but I can tell you I am taking an environmental assessment course where we're analyzing how to implement solutions and how the assessment procedures of environments go with respect to different companies and different projects all around Canada.
Rafat?
Yeah, so my name is Rafat Kankan. I'm a 2nd year civil engineering student. And at the moment, I'll leave 2160 for Professor Matthew Pera, which is geological processes. So I'll personally talk about 2120, which is civil engineering materials. It's a really interesting course so far. You really get to see where all the information you've been learning gets applied, where it's important. So it's a very important course where you get to apply just all that knowledge that you've been learning.
All right, Professor Park.
You're muted, Peter.
Sorry, Professor Park.
Sorry, my name is Peter Park, and I'm currently an associate professor in civil engineering department. In this semester, I'm teaching a 3rd year course named Transportation Engineering. And in the course, I'm teaching, quite frankly, very interesting stuff like autonomous vehicle, driverless car, truck platooning, and connected vehicles, all kinds of futuristic transportation matters, together with some traditional transportation matters as well, like freight transportation or goods movement, things like that. So I'm happy to answer for any question relevant.
Thank you. And Professor Pera.
Thank you. I'm Matthew Pera. I'm an assistant professor in geological or geotechnical engineering. And this is an area where we look at using natural materials to build with or build on or in fact. I'm teaching a geological processes class at the 2nd year level. And in this class, I'm really trying to give you that natural science background to the materials we might work with or have to deal with in civil engineering, and some of the spatial thinking techniques that we can use to understand what's below our feet.
Alrighty, thanks for that. And now we want to ask our students, when you guys were in grade 12, so you might have to think back a little bit, how did you guys decide on the program you're choosing to study right now? So like, what made you choose it and why are you in civil engineering? Either of you can take the question.
I'll just go first. So since I am in my 4th year, it was 4 years ago. I personally love the idea of creating solutions in a more sustainable way. That is why I did engineering, and civil just kind of encompasses that with just talking about creating solutions in a more sustainable way via either clean energy or just different technologies. That is why I personally went to civil engineering.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I'll just add on to that, I guess, by saying, to me personally, I felt like civil engineering is a really nice field for opportunity and creativity. Now, if you really think about it, civil engineering itself was basically built on creativity. How can we make things better? You know, there's always room for improvement when you're talking about structural capabilities and technicalities. So that's why I really like this course. There's always room for improvement, and it would be lovely to be a part of that improvement one day in the future.
Alrighty, thanks students for that. I'm going to come back at you right again with another question really quickly. I know you spoke about a little bit what your favorite course is right now, but can we just hear what your best experience in and out of the classroom was at York so far?
Yeah, I'll start this time, I guess. For me personally, I really like being involved at Lassonde just because that's an opportunity that we have at this university, right? There's always opportunities to be involved. And for me, I definitely like to talk about the YEC junior design competitions. That's been a great experience for me because I've actually attended both of them, both last year and this year. And you get to test out your teamwork skills, your leadership skills, your knowledge and capabilities, and you get to work as a team and all kind of follow one goal of making a design to solve a given problem that they would have given you in the instructions. So that's been a great experience for me.
With courses wise, I believe a lot of civil courses are a lot of fun because a lot of them are hands-on with you're programming or you're doing designs with regards to, like Professor Parkey does, transportation. So we get to use programs like EMI. There's a second year course where you learn AutoCAD. There's structural courses where you learn to make concrete, testing, compressing, all this kind of stuff. It's all a bunch of fun stuff that you get to learn throughout your civil engineering years at Lassonde. So I believe that was probably one of the more highlighting ends of my journey so far.
Thanks, Janelle and Rafat. That actually makes me think of two questions based on what each one of you said. So I'll ask the first, I'll let you answer, and we'll come back to the second one. The question is actually for our professors here. So Rafat mentioned that, civil engineering is about creativity, and I really like that way of putting it. But I also know that a lot of times when students are thinking of creating or making things in civil engineering, it's a very, very specific or classical definition of maybe building structures. But I've learned over the years that civil engineering is so much more than that. So if you can highlight what unexpected things students can expect in civil engineering that are not directly construction, let's say. If you can highlight a unique aspect of civil engineering, that would be great. Let's start with Professor Opera.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. My background is actually geological engineering. So I haven't been trained classically as a civil engineer. My background is kind of in between geological sciences and civil engineering and mining in a little bit. But in terms of, I guess the off the beaten path things, a lot of things we deal with, we have to consider the environment, we have to consider, groundwater or the water systems around us, the natural environment that we are interacting with. And there's a lot of sensing that we can do, sensors that we install into the natural environment before we even get into the construction phase, or not even dealing with construction, but just trying to understand the flow in a river, or how people are, and Peter can speak to that, about driving on the highways or using the infrastructure as well that we build. A lot of infrastructure that we build passes through, mountainous regions, or they're not located within the city and they're really in remote locations. So we have to use sensors to make sure it's functioning correctly. That some of the work I do is looking at, are slopes, hills really stable, and monitoring those and trying to learn about the natural behavior, so that it doesn't in the future impact some of the infrastructure we may have around. So, it's really encompassing many of the different spheres of the earth, and because that's where we're living. And Peter, you want to add to that?
Thank you.
Right. So for me, if you look back the history of civil engineering, is presumably the it has longest history of engineering. Longest history compared with any other engineering discipline. So, for example, if you imagine things like pyramid in Egypt, so it's thousands years history we have. These days, the civil engineering has evolved a lot, and we are talking about very futuristic matters, things like smart city or digital infrastructure, things like that. So what I'm saying is that, so for example, autonomous vehicle that I'm teaching in my class is thinking about connecting vehicles to all infrastructure system like traffic control system or highway system or even airport. So what you guys are going to learn in civil engineering is no longer a traditional field of civil engineering anymore. So, so everything will be connected in the future that you will learn much more about the futuristic matter like IoT, like Internet of Things, or cities, digitalized cities, or kinds of things which will lead you to think about much diverse aspects of civil engineering in the future.
Thanks, Professor Park. It's a really good segue into the second question that I was thinking about. Janelle mentioned about programming and AutoCAD, and you just mentioned smart cities and Internet of Things. And I wanted to take a few moments to learn more about where does programming or digitization come into civil engineering, because a lot of times when students are thinking about civil engineering or any non-computing program, programming or digitization might not fit into the picture. So why is it now important to integrate programming or digitization into civil engineering? Professor Park, if you want to start us with an answer.
Sure. So as an example, these days, I guess everybody's using things like smartphone, and then a lot of apps that you perhaps already installed into your smartphone, things like Facebook or Instagram, things like that. What civil engineers are currently considering, particularly in transport engineering as an example, since I'm transport engineering guy, we are thinking developing some sort of payment system. We call the system as Mars. The system allows us to simply pay one time, okay? So if you are simply imagining that moving from your home to a place like Orawa, okay? So it's using some sort of public transit. You go to, for example, first to nearby subway station, and then go to a place like Union Station. You may want to take train from Union Station to Orawa, and then eventually from when you are arriving at Orawa in Ontario, and then maybe you can take a taxi from the train station in Ottawa to your hotels, right? So what transport engineers are working together these days is developing a map, and they just simply clicking just one button, and it'll pay all kinds of different fees together as a bundle fees. And then you just use just single tickets through those smartphone, and then smartphone through smartphone apps, and then you can that's it, and then you just move from your home till the hotel in Ottawa using those apps. So that is something you may think that isn't that, for example, work for computer scientists or electrical engineers. That's not necessarily true, because they can develop an app on our behalf, but they need to understand the entire system, how individual organizations are working together via, for example, rail track company or TTC, all those public transit systems. They are basically belong to the territory of civil engineering. So civil engineers are playing a big role in terms of making our cities much more smart and efficient society these days.
Yeah, I think that's a great example where we, as civil engineers, we have an understanding of the network that we're working on, or perhaps the movement of slopes, different sensing that we want to do, right? And we have to work with the companies either directly or using third-party instruments and sensors but we're putting it together, to achieve a goal that's, civil engineering minded. And so whether or not I think there's a spectrum of needs in terms of computing within civil engineering. We need civil engineers to do the hardcore, coding. We need people that kind of understand a little bit about coding, but maybe aren't, efficient coders, but they're working with the coders. And then, there's the end users that maybe don't need to see or think about coding at all, but they're working with, the sensors or the software or the applications at the end of the day to do their job in designing solutions. There's a spectrum in terms of software. Lots of software that is used in industry, is like your Windows computer, just, application menu driven, right? And you don't need to know any coding. But then there are advanced softwares that are available that, in order to really get the most out of it, you can actually code your own things into them. And that's where companies sometimes get an edge, because they have some people that actually have coded up some really interesting ways of using that software that gives them a competitive edge. But they, so there's a spectrum there, and all kinds of applications where maybe a little bit of coding could be handy to, actually hiring people that are civil engineers with lots of coding experience.
All right, thank you, professors. And now I would like to spin it back to the student life. And Rafat kind of touched on this, so I'd like to pose this two-part question. This is, how do you get involved in the community here, as well as how do you manage your time as a student getting involved? So Rafat, would you like to start, since you kind of already spoke about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Personally, I never really had a problem getting involved, for the reason that you can always find where things are going on social media, from emails. It's not tough to get the word that so-and-so is having a club sort of organized, whatever it is. Even the YEC design competitions, for example, I remember that a course that I was taking called Renaissance Engineering actually made it mandatory for you to attend one of those either competitions, events, and make sure you take a selfie there. So they're basically not only advertising that there's a competition going on or a club or whatever, but they're encouraging you to do it, whether that's through your courses or other requirements. And to manage your time, really, that's an experience on its own, and you really get your time management skills as a student. As you continue in your years, you really work upon that and make sure you have the proper skills to manage your time. But it's not too difficult, given that you've put time aside for your studying, time aside for your personal responsibilities, and considering that you're actually interested in whatever event you're going into, it shouldn't be a problem at all.
For the clubs anyways, there is a bunch, like Lassonde does host a lot of hackathons, competitions, case competitions. If you want to get involved with professors, there's research opportunities. There's so many things that you can get involved in at Lassonde. That's just available from different clubs. Like there's a robotics club, there's women in STEM club. There's so many things that are different, that covers different societies that Lassonde covers. And I think that's one of the reasons why Lassonde is so great. With regards to managing my time personally, I have a handy agenda because I like to plan out my days, and I have like a checklist of goals that I want to accomplish for the day. One thing I realized that throughout this pandemic, it is sometimes hard to be accountable for yourself, since most of the time you may just be staying in front of a computer screen for like 10 hours straight and that's it. So I do recommend doing study groups with your friends on Zoom, or just going for a walk for maybe like 20 minutes, just so you're actually doing something else other than just staying in front of a computer, because the longer you stay in front of a computer, the lower the concentration is, I believe, or something along those lines. Like, it's very hard to concentrate. But yeah, time management is something that you learn throughout anything, like Rafat said. But my best way is just to create schedules and just keep yourself accountable through checklists.
All right, thank you for that. Now I'd like to spin it to a question that a lot of students ask regardless of their program, and this is to the profs. What co-op or research opportunities do civil engineer students have? We can start with Professor Perez.
Yeah, there's actually a tremendous amount of companies that interact with us at Lassonde and within civil engineering. I think we have over 50 companies that actively have co-op positions. They range from consulting companies to construction companies, municipalities, transportation authorities, and I don't know, did I miss anything, Peter?
No, you are misunderstood. So my understanding is that the Lassonde has a special CoOp program, and then how the system works is that I think students need to enroll for those their names and then to the program, and then the CoOp program in Lassonde will become a kind of matchmaker between the industry outside and the students who enroll for the program. And as an example, right now I'm currently working with an undergraduate student over this semester. How I was connected with the students is through the program, and I received their CVs and the student CVs and so forth, and I look at the student, and then I select her as my undergraduate research over this semester. So similarly, outside Lassonde industries like private sector or even government sectors like City of Toronto or Regional Peel, they hire our students as their co-op students over a certain period of time. The period of time can be just one semester, or it can be up to 1 year if a student want to select a longer term while they are doing as a kind of internship for that particular organization. Obviously, so it's a paid job. Yeah, that's important. You are not working as a free, and then you are not providing any free service. Even me, when I'm working with my undergraduate students, I'm paying, let's say, stipend.
Thank you for sharing that information. And I just wanted to add for our future students, co-op is optional at Lassonde, and that option is available for all Lassonde programs. So you do not have to worry about it at the time of your application. The entire process starts once you're a student here. So at Lassonde, we don't filter our students out on whether or not you can get into the co-op option based on your GPA. We really feel that co-op is something that all students can benefit from. So as long as you're in good standing in the engineering program, which really means as long as you can continue in the engineering program, you can go for that option. And our co-op team is here to support you all the way from helping you develop your portfolio to networking events to getting your cover letter and resumes ready. They actually provide one-on-one advising, which I understand is quite unique to Lassonde, as most other institutions do this through pre-recorded webinars only. So you absolutely have professional support available to you through that process, which will primarily take place during your second year. The next question, I actually have one in the chat for our students, which is, are either of you pursuing a minor or a certificate?
So I am not currently doing a minor, but I do know Lassonde has the interdiscipline. I'm sorry if I might mess this up. It's another degree that you can join with your engineering degree where it talks about more. Michelle or Medina, you may have more knowledge on this.
Are you an IDS?
No, I'm not. Sadly, I missed out on the opportunity, but I heard it's a very amazing program that you can.
So I may want to step on answering on behalf of Janelle on the questions. So upon my head, I just instantly suggest that, tell that there are at least two important extracurriculum and or certificate program. One is known as BEST, Burgeon Entrepreneurship.
Science and Technology.
Yeah, exactly. Science and Technology program. So what does the certificate is doing for you is that these days, for example, startup. If you want to become a CEO of your own company right after the graduation, then Lassonde is here. They can help you to create your own businesses, even during your undergraduate program. So a group of undergraduate students are working together through those best program, and then there are a couple of very experienced profs will help you to navigate and then teach you in a way how you can create your own businesses. It's not necessarily learning about specific skill set within civil engineering discipline. It's about learning how you can create your own businesses. There are a lot of legal terms that you need to digest. A lot of, for example, businesses techniques that you need to learn. So for that, you need to take, my understanding is just a couple of extra more courses during your program, and then eventually the time when you are graduating, you will get the best certificate on top of your regular civil engineering degrees. In addition to that, I just know there is another program. It's study abroad. Perhaps the name of the program may be different these years. They may use a different slogan, but my understanding is that some students are basically taking up one semester or summer season or even a year. They are basically working outside of even Canada. So my previous year students went to a place like Colombia, I think, over the summer season, and then they worked there, and then they helped the ministry in those areas over the summer season. And you can imagine that you can work basically doing an internship program or CoOp program outside of Canada, okay? And then those study abroad program, perhaps Mudita, you can help me. I just forget the name of the certificate. Once again, when you are graduating, you will get an additional certificate in addition to the degree of civil engineering. And then the certificate is going to, for example, prove that you have worked outside of Canada for whatever term it was. And then those, for example, certificate will help you to, if you are imagining or targeting joining in an international organization like United Nations or OECD, civil engineers are doing a lot of, supporting work for some international countries. So there are programs like that in Lassonde as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Professor Park. So I'll just add some information to this if you are looking for any of these options when you're submitting your application. So BEST, similar to CoOp, is a certificate that begins entirely once you're here. So your first year in engineering is your engineering foundation year. So any electives or any additions that you're doing to your program typically happen after the completion of your first year courses. So for example, if you were looking to pursue the BEST certificate, you would just connect with our entrepreneurship hub or an academic advisor to let them know that you're interested in pursuing this, and they can set you on the right track, whether that is the entrepreneurship certificate or it's a study abroad program or a third option. In terms of adding a minor or a second major, that option is not available with engineering. So the engineering curriculum ends up being so packed because you need to take a number of specialization courses in your second, third, and fourth years that there's really no room for students to add a second major or a minor. Though you do have options of still enhancing your degree, similar to what Professor Park shared. So you can do study abroad, you can do CoOp, you can do a CoOp abroad, you can complete the BEST certificate, which gives you a sense of the startup world. In terms of adding something to your degree, the only option that is available with engineering is a dual degree option, a second degree option. It's called Engineering and International Development Studies. And it's actually fairly popular with our civil engineering students. And that is a 5-year program when completed full time. And it gives you a Bachelor of Engineering as well as a Bachelor of Arts. And that also opens that working and learning abroad opportunities quite a bit for you. So do look into that option if you are considering that.
That program, thank you very much, Mudita, for explaining those program. I just forgot to mention that if you are pursuing obtaining such a certificate, then you will have an opportunity to take courses outside of Lassonde engineering. For example, you can take courses from Zurich Business School or even also go to law school, which you will get required knowledge set when you are, for example, trying to create your own businesses.
Yeah, I might just add to that, we have the Earth, Space, and Science Department, and they've got certificates in geographic information systems and remote sensing as well. And you have about 8 courses that you can select on your own, 4 within civil, and then 4 elective complementary study courses. So you have opportunities there to take classes that may build towards some of these certificates. So some cases, you may have to, like the international development studies, you probably need to stay a 5th year. The best program, you might be able to still achieve that certificate within 4 years, depending on how you arrange your courses that you can select.
Sorry, I want to say just one additional sales pitch. So if you happen to choose pursuing those international development programs, and then let's say you decide to go for outside Canada countries for a while, then again, that's a paid position. You're not going there just free of charge. I mean, someone will pay you for your services during the time that you are spending your time outside Canada.
Thank you for those additions. We do have a follow-up on our conversation asking, so the certificate that I aim for doesn't have to be related to engineering. It will likely have the certificate that you pursue that is offered by Lassonde will have a connection to your program. If you're pursuing a certificate outside of Lassonde, then it doesn't have to be related to engineering. So for example, if you are choosing a GIS and remote sensing, there's certainly a connection to surveying, for example, with civil engineering. So you're enhancing your civil engineering degree with that certificate. Similarly with the entrepreneurship certificate, some of the courses that you take as part of your engineering curriculum are part of the certificate with some additions. And the idea is that, let's say the entrepreneurship skills that you gain there, you would be using that either towards creating your own startup or working in a startup, though you don't have to. But for students who are pursuing that, might be thinking of that pathway as a career option. Now, if you're pursuing a certificate, let's say, I am really guessing right now. So let's say the Faculty of Liberal Arts offers a certificate in American Sign Language. Then that is something that is not related to engineering. I can see that completely enhancing your portfolio as well, but then it doesn't have a direct relation. So I'm hoping that that answers the question in terms of whether or not the certificate has to be related. All right, so
I would just add to
sure.
that, your engineering degree at the end of the day doesn't mean you'll work in engineering. So lots of people go on to do an MBA after, work in business, they go into law. It's a stepping stone into engineering, but also many other, business opportunities and so on. So, it depends on your mindset and, as your career develops, it takes unexpected turns and can be quite exciting and lead you into different areas other than engineering as well.
Yeah, I also want to add one additional, again, sales pitch for civil engineering. So compared with any other engineering discipline currently in Lassonde, civil engineering is one of those areas that you guys can relatively easily hook up with the government sectors. So unlikely other, for example, electrical engineering or computer scientists and those disciplines, civil engineering, infrastructure in general, that's a government mandate, maintaining, developing, building all those bridges, dams, or sewages, all kinds of things is a mandate by government sectors. Municipalities, provincial government like Ontario Ministry of Transportation or Transport Canada as a federal government, their mandate is improving and designing, maintaining all kinds of infrastructure system. So again, compare with the other disciplines, Lassonde, if you be imagining your future career path in government sectors, then civil engineering is presumably the right place to be at.
Alrighty. I would like to make one last comment on the whole, is it have to be related to engineering? So the BEST program, I'm actually currently doing it so I can get the certificate. So it's 4 additional courses to what you're already in. 3 of them are entrepreneurship courses and 1 of them is a law course. The reason why it doesn't seem like it's too related is because there are other requirements for you to get the BEST certificate. It's just they're already integrated into your degree, regardless of which program you go into, as long as you're in engineering or if you have the computer science and all those other various versions of it, it's already in your degree as a requirement. So therefore we don't really look at that. Since we are pretty much wrapping up, I want to ask one last question to our students. So we'll start with Janelle. What is one piece of advice you would give to the incoming students?
I would definitely say enjoy your time at Lassonde. And your degree is not just about learning, it's also about learning about yourself, not only the facts and just the knowledge that you will be gaining. It's about identifying and being self-aware and having fun, enjoying your university life, because this is a large portion of your life and you do grow a lot. So I would just say have fun with it, be involved. Yeah, be involved, definitely.
Yeah, so you should definitely have fun. I mean, engineering in general, your university experience in general is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. So learn to have fun when you can have fun. And in difficult times, just learn to keep your head up, When you need to adapt, you're going to have to adapt. And it's never too early to treat yourself like an engineer, right? So if you think about the current situation and how we have to study online and even the incoming students, this might be the situation for you as well. So if what you have to do in that situation is adapt to it, that's what an engineer would do. So go ahead and take that first step to adaptation and you should be totally fine. Just like Janelle said, enjoy your time. You're gonna love it.
Thank you for those words. Okay, so we are at time. I wanted to thank our current students and our professors for joining us to help us all learn more about civil engineering, and to any of our future students who are joining us live or will be tuning into a recording of this session. Thank you so much for your interest in Lassonde. This is actually the final session of all our program spotlight sessions that we've been hosting this week. We do have an admissions information session next Wednesday afternoon. And absolutely a lot more conversations and activities to come in 2021. So stay safe and we look forward to connecting with you soon.